The mansion shimmered with golden light, laughter echoing off the marble walls, the scent of fresh roses mixed with expensive perfume, and somewhere in the background, soft classical music flowed through the air. You smiled politely at relatives, pretending to enjoy the evening, but every step, every glance felt watched. Because you knew he was there, Jungkook, your sister's brother-in-law, the man every woman in the room seemed drawn to sharp in a black suit, tie loosened, that calm arrogance in his every move, and yet all night his gaze was fixed on one person. You try to act indifferent, keeping yourself surrounded by cousins, your smile carefully painted, but the weight of his stare burned at the back of your neck. Every time you looked up, he was there, either across the hall or near the bar, always with that faint, knowing smirk. Your sister's warning rang in your mind, don't get close to him while he's dangerous in ways you can't imagine, and you believed her. Jungkook wasn't the kind of man who fell, he claimed. So, you did the only thing you could, you ignored him. You turned away when he caught your eye, laughed louder when he looked your way, and walked in the opposite direction whenever he moved closer. Of course, that only made him want your attention more. As you made your way toward the buffet table, a familiar voice brushed against your ear, low, teasing, and far too close. Ignoring me all night? That's cold even for you. You stiffened, forcing a polite smile without turning around. I don't think there is anything to ignore, Mr. Jones. You are not that important. You moved to the side, but his hand brushed your arm, just a fleeting touch that made your pulse stutter. You hated how easily he could do that. You want me wine? I was starting to think we were friends. You think too much. He chuckled softly, a sound that set unwanted warmth up your spine. Maybe, but I noticed more than you want me to. You finally turned, eyes locked with his. His gaze wasn't playful anymore. It was dark, unreadable, and far too intense for a crowded hall. You should stop looking at me like that. Then stop giving me reasons too. You swallowed hard, tearing your gaze away, trying to appear composed even though your heart was beating recklessly. Across the room, your sister called your name, waving you over. You seized the chance to walk away, forcing yourself not to glance back, not to give him that satisfaction. But as you reached the end of the hall, you felt it his eyes still following you, a silent promise lingering in the air between you. Run all you want, wine, I'll still find you. You didn't hear that part, but he meant every word. The music downstairs had begun to fade into a dull hum, muffled by the heavy oak door as you closed it behind you. At last, silence, the first moment of peace all evening. You let out a long sigh, kicking off your heels as the glittering earrings slipped from your hands onto the dresser. The mirror reflected your tired smile, the kind that hides the chaos spilling inside. Your neck ached from the weight of polite smiles, your mind from constantly avoiding one pair of eyes. You reached up, pulling out the pins from your hair until soft waves tumbled down your shoulders. The faint tone of your favorite song played from your phone, slow, calm, almost romantic. For a moment, everything felt still, safe. He turned toward the bed, ready to collapse, and froze. There he was. Jungkook sat casually on the edge of your bed, one leg crossed over the other, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. His dark hair fell over his forehead, and that familiar smile curved his lips as if he had been waiting hours just to see your reaction. Ignoring me all night, that's unfair. Your breath hitched, heart jumping against your ribs. What are you doing here? He tilted his head, pretending to think. Admiring the view, maybe. You roll your eyes, snatching a rope from the chair and wrapping it around yourself. You shouldn't be here. What if someone sees you? Then they will assume I got lost. He grinned, leaning back on his hands, though I would say I found exactly what I was looking for. You cross your arms, fighting the urge to smile or blush. You are impossible. You have been avoiding me like I'm the villain of your story. His tone dropped, teasing yet soft. Tell me why. Is that what your sister told you I am? He looked away, your throat tightening. She said you are trouble, and I believe her. He stood, closing the small distance between you, his column dark, intoxicating, filled the air. Trouble, he leaned close, voice barely above a whisper. Maybe, but I think you like the way it feels. You are too sure of yourself, only when it comes to you. You turned to walk away, but his hand brushed your wrist, not to stop you, just enough to make you look back. His smirk had softened into something dangerously sincere. You can pretend all you want, wine, but when you look at me, his gaze dropped to your lips, you give yourself away. You felt your heart flutter wildly. You should leave. I will, after you tell me you didn't miss me. You stayed silent, which was answer enough. He chuckled under his breath, walking toward the balcony doors, but just before stepping out, he glanced back, eyes gleaming with mischief. Next time, don't leave the party so soon. You make it too easy for me to follow. He hadn't left. Even after you told him to, I said you should go, Chung. Your voice was calm, or at least you tried to make it sound that way. But your hands betrayed you, trembling slightly as you crossed your arms, trying to appear unaffected. He took a step closer, slow and deliberate, that same lazy confidence written all over his face. You say that, but you don't really want me to, do you? You're imagining things. Maybe, but the way you are looking at me right now says otherwise. You're unbelievable. He chuckled softly, that low, warm sound that almost managed to slip under your guard. You have been running from me since the day we met. I have been patient, wine, but tell me. He tilted his head slightly, eyes glinting in the dim light. When will you stop pretending you don't feel it too? He turned away, heart thudding painfully. I don't feel anything, you are just. You never finished that sentence because he stepped closer, close enough that you could feel his breath against your skin. Just what? Charming, dangerous, irresistible. His tone was teasing, but his gaze had softened. There was heat in it, yes, but also something deeper, something that made you falter. You should stop talking. Then make me. Your eyes widen. He was only inches away now. You could smell his calling, feel this faint warmth radiating from him. Every nerve in your body screamed to move, to say something, but you couldn't. He leaned in, not touching, not crossing the line, but close enough to make your pulse tremble. His voice dropped to whisper, rich and low. Tell me to stop looking at you, and I will. He paused, his gaze locked in yours. But you won't, will you? You swallowed your throat dry, heart racing like it wanted to break free. You shouldn't play with things you don't understand. His lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. Who says, I don't understand? I just happen to enjoy the game. Your breath hissed as his fingers brushed a strand of hair from your face, gentle, careful, as if he was testing how far he could go before you step back. You think this is a game? No, his voice turned quiet, sincere, but pretending it is makes it hurt less. That silence between you burned harder than any words could. You stood there, every heartbeat louder than the last, eyes locked on his until you finally found the strength to whisper, you need to leave. He didn't argue, he simply smiled, that slow, knowing curve that left you breathless. All right, but you'll think of me tonight, won't you? You didn't reply, you couldn't. As he turned to leave, the faint scent of his calling lingered in the room, along with the feeling that he had stolen something from you. Not your heart, not yet, but something dangerously close to it. The silence between you grew heavier, thick with everything. Neither of you dared to say. You turned away, desperate to steady your breathing, your chest rising and falling too fast. Your thoughts a storm you couldn't contain. You don't understand, Jungkook. This isn't right. Her voice cracked slightly, betraying the emotion you tried too hard to hide. Behind you, you heard the faint sound of footsteps around, slow, measured, then warm. His hand wrapped gently around your wrist, not to hold you back, but to make you face him. His touch was faded, light, careful, almost hesitant. I can't pretend I don't want you, whine, even if I shouldn't. That confession hit harder than it should have. His tone wasn't teasing anymore, it was raw, quiet, and heartbreakingly sincere. You turned your head slightly, meeting his gaze. His eyes were not dark and daring now, they were soft, pleading, filled with something dangerously close to vulnerability. This is wrong. He smiled faintly, as if the word wrong didn't exist in his words. Then let it be wrong just for a moment. You felt your pulse tremble, the distance between you dissolve like mist. He didn't rush forward. Instead, he studied you, his eyes tracing every uncertain breath you took, as though asking for permission without saying a word. And when you didn't pull away, he leaned in slowly. The words seemed to stop, the faint hum of the city outside fading until all you could hear was the rhythm of two words trying to remember how to beat. Almost questioning, then deeper, aching like he had been holding back for far too long. It wasn't mean to conquer, it was one mean to confess. A thousand words you both couldn't say, sealed in a single breath. When you finally pulled back, the space between you burst with unspoken emotion. Your lips tingled, your heart stumbled over itself. You stared at him half angry, half lost. You shouldn't have done that. I know, but tell me to regret it, and I will. You couldn't, you didn't. The words caught in your throat as you turned away again, eyes burning with something you didn't want to name. He exhaled softly, that quiet, breathless sound of someone who knew he had gone too far yet couldn't stop himself. For what it's worth, he murmured, I have never wanted anyone the way I want you. You were falling for the one man who were never supposed to love. You stood there, still dazed, your back pressed against the dresser. The faint echo of his lips lingered on yours, your heart pounding like it wanted to escape your chest. The room was silent, too silent, as if even the air was holding its breath. And then a knock. Wine, are you in there? You froze. The sound made your blood run cold. Truth had snapped toward the door, his smirk instantly fading. The warmth in his eyes hardened into something else, calm, sharp, calculating. His entire demeanor shifted in seconds as if a mask had been pulled back into place. Don't move. You blinked, startled. You need to go now. He stepped closer, placing a finger gently against your lips before you could say more. Don't tell her, not yet. His voice wasn't teasing anymore. It carried a quiet warning, laced with something that almost sounded like fear or maybe protectiveness. Your sister knocked again, louder this time. Why and why did you lock the door? Are you okay? You turned toward the door, panic rising, but when you looked back, Jungkook was already moving. He crossed the room in silence, opening the balcony doors. A cool gust of night air swept in, carrying the faint scent of rain and jasmine. He pulled at the threshold, half in shadow. The moonlight framed him perfectly, handsome, untouchable, dangerous. I'll see you soon. Jungkook, he turned his head slightly, eyes meeting yours over his shoulder, and in that single look there was a promise. One that made your stomach twist and your chest ache. You can ignore me all you want, Wine, but we both know this isn't over. And then he was gone, slipping out into the night like a secret too heavy to keep. You rushed to the door, unlocking it just as your sister stepped inside, concern written across her face. Why was your door locked? You look pale. Are you okay? You forced a smile, brushing your hair behind your ear, praying she couldn't hear how hard your heart was beating. I'm fine, just tired. You should rest then. It's been a long night. Her voice gentle, unaware of the storm that had just passed through the room. When she finally left, you closed the door again and leaned against it, letting out a shaky breath. The air still smelled like him, warm and intoxicating. You pressed your palm to your chest, feeling the echo of his heartbeat against yours. Outside, somewhere beyond the balcony, you could hear the faint sound of a car engine starting, and for the first time, you realized this wasn't an ending, it was only the beginning.